Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rev Rambles On. I have a special guest today with me. I have known this man, Rob Tuell, all the way back since 7th grade. And I don't want to tell how many years ago that was. But just to give you a clue, we graduated high school together in 1993. So, wow, it's going to be 31 years this year in June that we graduated, Rob. So welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Rob, this podcast is called The Rev Rambles On for a reason, and I know you're not surprised.
Not a bit.
Rob's known me for a long time and knows that I can ramble just a bit.
A little bit.
But the good news is, or I think it's good news, is Rob can ramble too, is that when we were in school together, we both had the dream of being sportscasters. Mm-hmm. And we even, with a lot of help and a lot of great teachers and mentors, mm-hmm. we had the opportunity at our hometown in Welch to host a weekly radio sports call-in talk show called Keeping Score.
And what a blessing to grow up in a small town, right?
Yeah.
I live just north of Pittsburgh now, and you can't imagine the opportunity to do that. Now, granted, that was how many years ago, but juniors in high school, being given the opportunity to call play-by-play and color for your high school basketball team on an FM radio station, and then being able to be provided the opportunity to go in and have a 2-hour weekly call-in talk show that basically handed the reins over to us. I mean, to think about that day, it's kind of unheard of, but it was what we did, and we had a great time.
And we wouldn't be who we are today if it wasn't for those mentors that gave us those kind of opportunities. All the way back at the local radio station, WELC.
AM/FM.
AM/FM. I think it was 1150 on the AM dial and
102.9.
102.9 on the FM. But the favorite thing for every child in McDowell County was when we had a snow day.
Hip, hip, hooray, no school today.
That's what the audio would play. Yep. The song that every child in McDowell County longed to hear every morning.
No cell phones, no crawls across the bottom of the screen. It was you turn on the radio, and if you heard that jingle, you knew you could sleep longer.
That's right. It was great times. And all the way back to Sam Sedote, mm-hmm. John J. Sedote, his son, and John J.'s wife, Vivian, would give us those opportunities, along with Coach Jim Redmond. Mm-hmm. He, at the time, was the play-by-play voice for WELC. Mm-hmm. And give Coach Redmond credit. He gave us the opportunity.
He did.
Because he took a back seat to allow us into that booth or on the sideline to do the basketball games with him. And we just had great opportunities. And a lot of our viewers or listeners would be probably surprised. I think that show helped me in so many ways, and the opportunities to call. You may remember this, Rob, but I was listed in the yearbook as one of the shyest kids in school. Yeah. One of the shyest kids in school. And Rob can tell you, if you really did know me, then I wasn't that shy.
No.
I was a talker. But I don't know what it was in the classroom setting or other things. I think it was a little bit of Appalachia in mm-hmm. me, a little bit of, can I do this? And coming from meager means, and probably not a whole lot of self-confidence. And so the opportunity that those guys, teachers and people at WLC gave us really helped me a lot. I think you were a lot more outgoing and a lot of ways, but of course it still helped you in so many ways to be able to be who you are today.
We were all from McDowell County, right? So how outgoing could we really be? I mean, compared to the rest of the state. I mean, we all had our struggles, either socially, economically. We were in McDowell County, right?
That's right.
But if anybody is watching or listening today, that's what I don't want to discredit is you can be from anywhere.
That's right.
And still be successful. If you put God first and have an internal drive, you can get anywhere you want, essentially.
Rob, because of that still feeling that I have, I oftentimes, it speaks to me, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And I think, can anything good come out of McDowell County?
Come on.
And so I need you in the congregation. Yeah.
Didn't bring my tambourine with me.
So Rob and I, as you can see, go way back and have a lot of great times. We've been through good times, tough times together. And even when we're not able to talk as often as we should, when we do get together, it's just like we pick right back up.
The one thing that I was thinking, Larry, I don't think either one of us could tell our life history or our story without involving the other one, right?
Yeah.
And as a father of, you have a senior and getting ready to graduate. I have a junior. You have a little girl. My girl is a little older in 8th grade. But what an advantage in life to have someone as a friend for so long, knowing that if you don't talk every day or every week, I can send a text or a call, and it's just picking up, right?
Yeah.
And that says a lot of us as people, but as Christians too. That's what we should be putting out there, right? And that's what speaks volumes, because that's where we're so balanced. Our yokes are balanced, right? Because for so many years we had season tickets at Mountaineer Field during football, and you would sit in front of me. And I was the kind that would yell. My inner badger would come out, right? And you, on the other hand, were just, I could tell how the game was going by simply looking at the back of your neck, right? And I could tell if you'd had blood pressure medication, because your neck would be beet red. And I could... But
Sad thing is,
but that's our personality.
I still could have had my blood pressure medication the way the game was going, and it was still...
So much for HIPAA, right? Just put it all out there today. But that personality differences, right? I leave it out there, although I'm trying to do better, and you internalize it. And even to this day, we will text during football games, and I will just be in a rage over something, and then I'll apologize, and you'll come back and say, nope, I wish I could be like that sometimes, because you internalize everything. So
you're saying what I'm thinking, oftentimes, and so you
scary,
get it out.
But that's why you're the minister and I'm not.
But that goes along a little bit with what we've been talking about here with a series at Suncrest called The Playbook, and I get teased a little bit because I do lean a little heavy on the sports side. And so The Playbook, actually, I want to let everyone know that I didn't come up with this series title. We have a creative worship team that plans and talks about what we're going to do. And our music director and the person that makes as good as we can look and sound, Angela Smith, she came up with the series title when I told her what we were trying to make happen. And she said, The Playbook. I love it. And Rob, you and I, before even recording, we were talking a little bit about what it means to be the playbook with being a follower of Christ, what it means to be, you have some words that you're going to share a little bit from your church right now too. But we're talking a little bit about what it means to be a full embodiment of the playbook here at Suncrest. And it's about our prayers. And Rob, you and I have exchanged opportunities about things we need to pray for or things that are going on in our life. And I have no doubt when I tell you something or haven't told you something yet that you're praying for me.
Right.
And
likewise. Yeah.
And the other thing is when we need each other, we've both been at tough times.
Oh, yeah.
Present. Rob, you and I have both been through tough times in our personal life. We've also been through tough times with death of our fathers. Mm-hmm. And we've both been there for each other. Mm-hmm. And so the presence is just that. And the good news is that God's presence is what brings us together. And so that is what continues to drive the playbook, is that prayer. And I think that's a great place to start. And Rob, I don't know about you, but my prayers aren't always eloquent.
No. And we're not eloquent always, right?
No.
So it needs to come from our heart, right?
We're
and
from McDowell County.
From McDowell County, right? We have a little bit of an accent, we have a twang, but God hears us regardless. And so I moved out of state about 10 years ago, live just north of Pittsburgh now, just north of Cranberry Township in a town called Zelienople. Don't ask me how to spell that. It's long.
You never were a good speller.
We're not going to go there. We're going to edit that part out.
You were never a good speller.
That's right.
I was the good speller, but you were the smarter guy.
Hey,
so.
that's why we can right click now, right? We don't need to do that. Right. But grew up in a small Methodist church in Hemp Hill, and just outside of Welch. And I jokingly say there was only 20 or 30 of us in the congregation, and if we raised our hand, it wasn't because we were worshiping, it was because we had a question, right? And the difference now is I see the church that you pastor over growing, right? The church, the non-denominational church that my family attends, is growing as well. And the one thing, talking about the playbook, is being a Christian, I think all of the blocking and the tackling, if you will, is the same. It's just the terminology can be different from church to church, if you will. So I know at our church, at Victory Family Church in Cranberry, non-denominational church, we always say it's the big four. It's know God, find freedom, discover your purpose, and make an impact.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can do those four and make that move along that pendulum, then you're doing probably something right along the way. And the one thing that I always try to tell my own children and my friends, and this really came to life in 2020 during the pandemic, right, is are we being a reservoir or are we being a river, right? Meaning, are we like a little turtle and we have all of our arms and legs pulled in, but are we out there sharing God's love and telling others about what God's done for us and the opportunities that are out there? And as my 8th grade daughter often reminds me, we may be the only Bible that some people read, right?
Yeah.
So we always have to be aware of that. And listening to your sermon from last week about the playbook, that I think that goes along with that.
Yeah. And when you talk about those words, you're exactly right. The playbook is all the same with different terminology, because when you're talking about know your purpose, make an impact, when you're talking about the words we're using of your gifts, your service, that's knowing your purpose.
Correct.
And then your witness, hopefully, is making an impact. I mean, and Rob, you'll know this guy, Charles Barkley, says he didn't want to be a role model at one time in his life. And guess what? We all are. Sometimes we can be a good one, a bad one, an ugly one, and but we're all a role model. And so making an impact, our witness speaks volumes. And so we're always being viewed and watched. And today in a culture that I would say, unfortunately, is in a lot of ways post-Christian, post-Christian culture. So what are we doing as people of Christ? What are we doing as the people that are saying we go to church? How are we being looked at and watched? I hope that impact is not getting into the things that divide us.
Yes.
Because I hardly watch the news, Rob.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I mean, I get enough alerts on my phone that I can click on and see what's going on in the world. So I still know what's happening, but I rarely turn on the news because everybody, you and I, we have our own bias. Mm-hmm. We have our own thoughts.
Sure.
And you and I aren't going to agree on everything.
Nope.
But that doesn't keep us from being best friends.
I'll tell you, I'm right. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. We can confess here, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we're in church.
You're usually right. Yeah, you're usually right. However, even when you're wrong, we work it out and we get along. So what would it be like if our world or people that say that we are followers of Jesus didn't feel like we had to be right?
And yes. And one thing that my mind goes to is, as Christians, I believe we can't fall into I'll call it a trap of division, right? This culture that we live in now is so focused on creating division. And it's a daily struggle, right? Mm-hmm. Because you turn on the news and what you believe might not be necessarily what's coming at you, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of different areas, politically, socially, whatever it may be. And your first instinct is to get all, at least in me, is to get all balled up and say, that's not right, or how could they be saying that? And have you prayed about it?
Yeah.
Have you taken it before the Lord?
Yeah.
Right? Is it a check in my spirit or my ego, right? Is it something I need to deal with? So I think we need to guard against division, right? Because I don't care if you're at a Mountaineer football game. I don't care if you're here to church. People are going to have different opinions. Yeah. We're all unique. We're all individuals, right? What are the foundational principles that we're standing upon?
Yeah. I say all the time, Rob, here, it resonates here in Morgantown, 60,000 fans cheering on the Mountaineers. They're all united in that. And then we might, not all be as supportive as some, and some get, uneasy with a play call here or there. I know you've never done that. But at the end of the day, probably 55 out of those 60,000 fans on a given Saturday are for the old gold and blue. I got a feeling that not everybody in that stadium votes the same.
No, absolutely not.
I got a feeling that everybody,
even in West Virginia,
yeah, I got a feeling that not everybody has the same way of worship or worship at all.
Right.
But we come together there, most of us wearing gold and blue, and hope that the good guys win. And whether it's there, the Coliseum, Kendrick Family Ballpark now, wherever it might be, we're Mountaineers. And so what would it be like, even for those of us that may not acknowledge that we are people of faith, but to say we're all children of God? I did a blessing yesterday at a place that some might even say it's sad that I was doing it. I was at a renovated fire station in Morgantown in Saberton. It was a Norwood fire station, and they were celebrating the renovation, new fire truck, but also what you call a safe haven baby box. And I even got one phone call from someone that must have Googled when the story hit, and they saw my name praying. They looked me up, and I got a phone call here at the church, and the guy was very upset that I was doing this blessing for this. And I listened to him.
Sure.
But he was going to go on, and I admit, I asked him, I said, well, can you email me some of those things that you're concerned about? And he did. But what I said at that blessing, because I did go through with that blessing, is that I don't know what someone's going through.
Right.
And I would much rather a child be delivered in a place that child is going to be retrieved in minutes than put in a bag or something like that could happen. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity that sometimes doing what's right is not what's always popular or easy.
Yeah, it's a sadness. It's a sadness that we could think something like that occur. It's a sadness that we live in a society, right, where that could be an option, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to be thankful that there is an alternative out there, right?
But what we also have to do then is not cast stones at that mother.
Amen.
Or father, or whoever.
We don't know what they're going through.
Is to be praying and remember that person is someone's child too, and most of all, a child of God. I was doing we do a Thursday morning men's study Zoom, some of us here at our church, and I don't remember exactly even what the context was, but we were reading something and it was reminding us that we're children of God, and somebody said, sometimes that's really humbling to be mindful that I'm a child of God. And I let that sink in for a little bit, but then I also, I like to also meddle a little bit. And I said, yeah, I know it's shocking. I said, let's not forget that everyone else is too.
Mm.
There was a moment of silence there, and someone said, good point. We're all children of God, and I'm glad that, Rob, that you and I are, and that has made our friendship and we call each other, we're like brothers from different mothers, and so I'm grateful for that and for your family and mine and what the experiences we've had together. And I know there will be many more.
And I just want to say it's a little bit humbling, but I can't tell you how proud I am of you to see you in your ministerial process, if you will, right? From your first charge of 5 churches now to being here in Morgantown, just to see the maturation, the growth, right? And we all have our different walks of life. We all have our different professions. But what we, as people who are not ministers, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes, right? We come to church and we see a sermon that's been prepared and we go about our week. And I'm guilty as well of not knowing what goes on behind the scenes and all the different avenues that goes on that can impact you personally, it can impact your family, right? It's not an easy job. It's not a job I would want by any stretch, to be quite honest. I'm just proud of you, brother. I'm just proud of you that where you've come from, where you're going, and that you've always been open to what God has in store for you.
That means a lot, man. I love you, and I'm proud of you because you have been a tremendous witness in your family, in your community, in your church. And I know you're going to continue to do that. And I'm very proud of you as well.
Thank you.
The dynamic duo is what we used to be called.
Back in the day. Oh, memories.
For Rob and Larry on WELC. We'd call it the Nation Station, right?
And we did. We called it the Nation Station. But you think about it, Larry, and this is giving some insight for some of the people that probably haven't known you as long as I have, but we were together for the 1993 West Virginia-Miami game across the street. We've done that. We spent the week together for our Big East Championship in New York. As soon as the game was over, we drove home that night you waking me up in the passenger seat because it was so foggy and you couldn't see. And I'm like, well, what are you waking me up for? I can't make you see any clearer. Like, you could tell me if I'm getting close to the side of the road, but we were together for that. Do you remember driving the van of elderly women?
Yes.
Your aunt that put together this trip for us to drive a 15-passenger van. You and I, the only males. The rest of them are older women. Down to LSU, the West Virginia LSU, down to Death Valley for that game.
I'll never forget my aunt calling me and saying, do you think you and Rob would drive some senior citizen ladies to Louisiana to watch WVU play LSU? We'll buy your tickets. We'll buy your room. Sure.
Let's go.
We were ready to go. It was a great game. We should have won that football game. Yeah. Of course, I'm going to bring that part up. Of course. Should have won that football game.
And then one thing that sticks with me that I will always remember, it was during the Rich Rodriguez era. We were at Virginia Tech. That game, Brian King picked off the pass.
Yes, 12 seconds to go.
The stadium went silent. That was the loudest noise I've ever heard, was that silence, if that makes any sense.
Russell, my cousin Russell, I'm sorry we're bringing that up. He's a faithful viewer and listener, and my Aunt Sharon, Uncle Bob's son, who brought me to my first WVU football game. But Russell would tell you he wanted WVU to win oftentimes because how much of a depression his mom and dad were in. He got it, even though he's a Hokie. We love you, Russell.
The one thing that I will always remember is in the Rich Rodriguez era, there was a game at Cincinnati that you were at. There was a field goal late in the game. And correct me if I'm wrong, you went onto the field, I think, after the game. I was not at the game. You called me and said, I'm on the field. We just won. You're not here physically, but you're here with me. And I was like, that is awesome. Like, you thought enough to call me in that moment while you were on the field celebrating. So
I don't know how that happened, but a different stadium. Rich Rodriguez's first season, the ball hits the post and goes the wrong way for Cincinnati. West Virginia wins. West Virginia fans went on the field, and yes, I was one of them.
So there's been, we were season ticket holders for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
Your father, your aunt and uncle, my father, my wife. There were 9 of us, and we were reminiscing some before this. And my family didn't hunt, we didn't fish. That was what we did. Every home game, we knew who we were going to be with. We knew we were going to be with family, right? We knew that we were going to be sitting together, and it was going. Your uncle would always bring us Tootsie Rolls. Every game, he'd turn around and hand us Tootsie Rolls, and it's so much more than just a game, right? It's about creating memories and opportunities, and we can do that in a football stadium. We can do that at a fire department, right? It's all about creating memories and opportunities and showing others the love of Christ.
Yeah,
right.
That's our presence.
It is.
And what brings us together each time, it's God's presence.
Amen.
And God saying that you want to make an impact. You are my witnesses. Mm-hmm. Go and share. Anything else you want to ramble about today? We'll have to do this again, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This wasn't even 2 hours. I mean,
know,
you could throw a topic out there and we could just go.
We haven't even had the trivia question that we had on Keeping Score. We have a trivia question. The caller that won got the steak hoagie platter at the Sterling Drive-In. Sterling.
Oh, my gosh.
Throwback right there.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're going to have to do this again. So,
absolutely.
Rob, I love you, and I thank you for taking the time, and appreciate your family for allowing you to come down today and spend some time.
Absolutely. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah.
Always willing.
Well, the Rev Ramble's on. You never know what you're going to get. We might have All-American drafted football players, or we might have the other half of the dynamic duo.
That's pretty even. I don't know.
I know. So, and of course, we're going to talk about the sermons and continue to ramble on about that. So we hope you'll share and subscribe and share the podcast with all your friends. Tell them to just check it out and see what they think. We'd love to hear from you. You can check us out on our Facebook page, Suncrest UMC, United Methodist Church, or on our website at suncrestumc.org. So we hope you have a wonderful week and know that God's presence is in you, and asking you also to be one that makes an impact of what it means to love God, and share that with all that you know. Have a great week.